Hello there friends, Group C of the ESL Pro League has kicked off. Let's go briefly over the results of the group and of course discuss all the main news. Today on the menu, easily ranking top 1 in the world in the new Premier mode in CS2, why Valve is pushing on Faceit, what's happening inside Team Liquid, and much more. It's a bit frustrating to see that everything is split into halves. While everyone is already long playing CS2, the tournaments are still being held on CSGO. Well, since we don't have much of a choice, let's get straight to it. As always, we start with the reshuffles, especially since there's a couple of interesting news. For instance, remember NeoFrag? Not too long ago he was a promising talent from OG, then he was kicked out of the Into the Breach squad a month later for blasting inappropriate jokes. And now he eventually ended up with the Team Eklot, a purely Czech lineup from the top 50 of HLTV. Just goes to show how you can ruin your career in just a few months. Although maybe they might pull something off, but I have my doubts. Next, we have some pleasant news for the old-timers. Apparently, Zepnix has been preparing for a new stage in his career. Here's what he told in a recent interview with the Dust 2. I've won many titles, including 4 majors, and I'm only 28 years old. I'm still young. I'm mentally strong, have a lot of experience, and I know that I can perform under pressure without any issues. Right now, I'm maintaining my form, training a lot, and trying to be mentally and physically prepared for any new challenges. I feel ready to play at the highest level in CS2. Dupree also said something similar recently, and I'm sure Glaive is not planning to retire either. I still don't understand why nobody wants to sign these guys. Add 2 hardcore talents to them and you can immediately dominate the pro scene. But for now, it seems that no one wants them. Friends, I have another fantastic news for you. My partner, MyCSGO, gives away free cases. What do you need to do? Well, it's as simple as possible. Just add $2 to your account. Well, the more you top up, the more free cases you get, and they drop 3 at a time. I haven't seen such generosity yet, and if you get skins of no interest, you can immediately trade them in a contract or upgrade to get an amazing skin. You can repeat that every day. The website has a special provably fair system so that you can check any operation, everything is open. They have been in the game since forever and you can find thousands of reviews on Google. The bonuses don't end there. You can receive a gift every day and by using my unique promo code in the pinned comment you will get additional one. Also, if you use live news as a promo code you will get up to 40% bonus for all your top-ups. It's just too good to be true, isn't it? But here we are. Click on the link in the pinned comment to get it all. Thank you, my dear kind friends, for watching the ad. Let's move on. The next reshuffle, surprisingly, is related to Team Liquid. It all started when Harumi the Insider posted that Marek's Yikinder will miss the ESL Pro League. And you know, people started discussing immediately what's going on, what's happening. Then another insider, Jonas, stated that Liquid is dropping Yikinder due to internal issues. Few believed this, but the process have already begun. Everyone on social media discussed only this and waited for official news. But instead, we got a bit more intrigue from Stewie2K. He said that there are indeed some changes happening in Liquid and he was even invited to be the 5th player in the ESL Pro League. He was supposed to go on a bootcamp to Europe, but decided not to. So, in general, something is definitely cooking within Team Liquid, but it's unclear what. Then, Patsy volunteered to answer all these questions. In his Telegram, he explained that all the rumors about Yikinder are fake. Liquid indeed needs a 5th player for the ESL Pro League, but it's not because of any disagreements or replacements within the team. The issue is pretty simple. Patsy didn't get a visa. This has already been reported by Dust 2 again. So there are no internal problems within the team, it's just a slight delay with the visa. Patsy will only miss part of the tournament and Daps will play instead of him. Stewie2K was indeed invited to play a few matches in place of Patsy, but it seems that the coach will now step up for the new role. In any case, this isn't the most pleasant news for the Liquid fans. They are in a very challenging group with only 4 spots in the playoffs. And teams like Cloud9, G2, VP and 9 are all contenders. So there is a good chance that Liquid might be eliminated from the group stages early. Alright, that's enough of reshuffles, now let's talk about CS2. Valve recently celebrated the 20th anniversary of Steam and released a very huge article about what's happened over the years. You know, the games they made, other notorious games, and the evolution of the store. The oldest members were given a 20-year anniversary medal, but honestly, I don't know, these people are just really outnumbered. I mean, who registered on Steam in 2003? But what's more interesting to say is that they wrote about CS2. They said, quote, "The year isn't quite over, but so far we released a huge Steam client update. Counter-Strike 2 entered into the beta and launches soon." Well, this gives another reason to build all sorts of theories, wear a tinfoil hat and wait for the official release. The community immediately jumped on this and, well, here's the theory. You see, the United States of America operate slightly different than the rest of the world. You know, they use miles instead of kilometers and all that. And their summer starts not on June 1st, but on June 22nd, the summer solstice, and logically ends on September 22nd, the autumn equinox. So technically, Valve hasn't broken their promises yet. According to their calendar, summer isn't over, meaning we can expect the full release of CS2 in the coming week, just in time for the end of the EPL. But let's be honest, judging by the beta, there's still a lot of work to be done. Numerous bugs, server issues, and the endless debate over whether sub-tick or 128 tick rate is better. But most importantly, how players have welcomed the new in-game ELO system. It seemed to be even more criticized than on Faceit. One of the data miners released a demo of a player who is in the top 5 rankings worldwide. It's amusing that he plays with another player from the top 14 and their team has a blatant cheaters. They don't even hide it, shooting through walls and landing headshots across half of the map, clearly making fun of players who have around 20,000 points or even more. I've watched streams of various pro players with high ratings and they encounter such cheaters in every other game exploiting their ELO system. So currently, basically, it's better to play around 10,000 points and avoid such problems. The closer you get to the top 1000, the higher the probability of facing blatant cheaters is. Right now, no report system is working, there's no patrol, nothing. It's simply impossible to play. Of course, it's all still in beta and probably all ratings will be reset, but now cheaters have new motivation, earning ratings and boosting other players. And with all this background, we have Faceit servers with no cheaters, 128 tick rate and just perfect and everyone's thrilled. But, you know, it's not that simple. As it turned out, Uncle Gaben didn't like this. On the 14th of September, they released a new CS2 update. You know, just casually fixing some bugs, slightly rewrote some commands, code, and it all seemed okay. Just a routine CS2 update, the kind that's released every day. But, you know, also there was a tiny little bit of code that broke every Faceit server on Source 2. And, you know, everyone thought it was just temporary technical glitches, but no. Valve had programmatically disabled the 128 tick rate servers. Here's how they look when they are launched. It turns out that if you manually set 128 tick rate, the game simply breaks down. Either use Valve's sub-tick system or get an unplayable server. As a result, Faceit had to urgently comply and transfer their CS2 servers to the sub-tick system. This means that now the game will feel absolutely the same, both in matchmaking and on Faceit. The data miners are of course mad about this. They write that Valve needs to better understand their game internally and fix this sub-tick system so that people themselves would switch to it, rather than simply cutting off competitors at the software level. I haven't played on Faceit myself, but they say it's really like the matchmaking now, like a 64 tick rate, and hits are registered worse and all that. And you know, as always, friends, just write your comparisons and what you know and what you experienced in the comments below, let's discuss. But that's not all. Of course, Faceit still had one major advantage, its own anti-cheat system. Yeah, I know, there are people who bypasses this, but the thing is, running into a cheater on Faceit is 1,000 times harder than in regular matchmaking. And it seems Valve is trying to catch up with its competitor here too. Firstly, there was information that the cheater from the top 5 rating under the nickname Rustic, which we talked about earlier, was banned, or his rating was reset, I'm not sure. Although later there was news that he was unbanned, but honestly I didn't see him in the top anymore. As data miners write, all cheaters of that scheme were banned. The problem is that it's not just one, so to speak, group that hyped on Twitter. If they hadn't pushed this so much, they probably would have continued to abuse this system and he would have already scored 50,000 points. And imagine how many such players there are. I mean, I think thousands, and they continue to play as if nothing happened. However, there seems to be an answer from Valve to this too. Another update was released recently, and the data miners found mentions of some new anti-cheat right inside of the game. It's not yet operational, but they should launch it with the official release. Let's hope it works as intended, not like what's now in CSGO, where those spin bots are sent to patrol. As if the game can't figure out if it's a cheater or not. I mean, why do you need a patrol for a guy who does 5 kills with a scout through the whole map at once, in a few seconds? And all these rumors about the real battle between Valve and Faceit are concluded by Richard Lewis. I remind you that he was the first to say that CS2 will be released soon, and it really came out a few weeks after his words. So Lewis asked his anonymous sources and they confirmed that Valve really wants to push Faceit out of the market. Like, take away as many players as possible from them and let everyone play on their premier mode and matchmaking, so there's no need to go on other platforms. So this is how, with force and power, Valve is trying to destroy a competitor. We'll see what all this leads to. I personally believe that competition is good and it's an open market. The more offers there are, the more companies strive for customers, and as we, regular users, only benefit from it. If it weren't for Faceit, Valve would never have released the Premier mode. If it weren't for Valorant, we might have never seen the CS2 in a couple of years. In short, as always, we'll see what happens with the official release. For now, pro players continue to hate on this sub-tick system. Here's what Monacy says. The tick rate in CS2 is complete crap. I hope Valve does something about this, because it's terrible. It's the same 64 tick rate. And here's what James says.
Ну что ж, поиграл я в эту вашу CS2. Хочу поделиться мнением. Игра на самом деле не прям доработанная. Понятно, это бета. Мы не можем судить по бете, какая будет сама игра. Но она достаточно перспективная. И больше скажу, она может стать лучшей игрой, которую я когда-либо играл, практически как CSGO. Всего лишь надо пофиксить, микру всю, механические всякие фризы, стрейфы, там спреи, стрельбу, да, то есть движение, стрельбу, карты и даже худ, и тогда она будет достаточно крутой.
Well, we're all waiting for the official release. I'd like to watch CS2 tournaments instead of CSGO, but there's no choice. And finally, in the news, I decided to share a couple of interviews. For example, Simple talked about his mental state. Sometimes I am a bit angry because we lose stupid rounds and I need to control myself, but trust me, I've learned to control myself for 10 years and there was a different situation back then. I play a lot of CS, I know what it means when you kill 2 people on eco and if you win the next round, their economy is done. Some players don't understand this things. In every team in Vitality, in ANS, some players make these stupid mistakes. If we're already playing well, we can play even better without these mistakes. It seems like Simple is stating the obvious, but it turns out it's very important for the team's newcomers. Here's what Ime said to this. I know myself. If there's a good environment and chemistry, I can play well. If my team is playing better, I'll play better. I cannot be the guy who's saving the team. Everyone constantly talks about the chemistry and the atmosphere in Navi and the players themselves. Alexi B concludes this by discussing the role of JL in the team. I think he's a perfect fit for any international team. All I'm saying is I feel like you need to have key players on teams who are ready to sacrifice and ready to have a good time, because if it wasn't for JL in our camp, then it would be like a graveyard 24/7. So it seems that JL is the only player who can restrain Simple and improve the atmosphere. A legend, what else to say? Now, let's briefly talk about the matches. Before discussing EPL, I can't help but tell you about an interesting event at another tournament. You know, there was a match between Cloud9 and OneWin. So Electronic and Perfecto played together with Boomich for the first time in a very long while. Unfortunately not for the same team, but as opponents. Why do I even talk about this match? It's simple. Cloud9 was again not invited to Blast. They're not their partners and they have to play in open qualifiers and all that. So they were invited to RAS Masters for this very reason. I have no idea what kind of tournament this is, but the main thing is that the first place here gets a slot for the Blast Showdown. Essentially, this is the only way for non-partners to get to the Blast Finals. OneWin also participates in this tournament, and on the very first day, former teammates faced each other. Boomich versus Electronic. Two students of Blade met to determine the strongest. But, well, don't get that hyped up. The match itself was not as interesting as the fact that these old players finally met on the server. Cloud9 easily defeated OneWin on Inferno with a score of 16-8. Then they somehow managed to lose without any chance to major regulars Bad News Eagles with a score of 16-6. And interestingly, because of this, Cloud9 met with OneWin again, but this time in the playoff qualifying match, and this time it was even easier for Cloud9. They beat Boomich's team on the same Inferno with a score of 16-1. As a result, OneWin was eliminated from the tournament and Cloud9 advanced to the playoffs, where they will compete for the Blast Showdown slot. Now, let's talk about the ESL Pro League. Group C turned out to be just as dull as the previous two. Nevertheless, let's quickly go through it. Here's the bracket with the results. The main favorites of the group, Navi and Faceit, easily won their first two matches, thereby guaranteeing themselves a spot in the playoffs. Thus, these two teams fought in the upper bracket final for the direct entry into the quarterfinals. Many expected at least 3 maps in this match and even overtimes, but Navi were head and shoulders above their opponents. First, they confidently closed out their pick, Anubis, with a score of 16-4, and then managed a fantastic comeback on Faceit's pick, Nuke. Midway through the map, Navi trailed 9-13 playing the attack side, but managed to pull themselves together and secured 7 rounds in a row. As a result, FaZe moves to the playoffs round 2, while Navi advances directly to the quarterfinals. It's too early to draw conclusions here, as this is just the group stage, but it seems that Blade kept his word when he said Navi would be in good form for EPL. The third team to make it to the playoffs was Fnatic. I think many expected this result from them, and the guys didn't disappoint their fans. After losing to FaZe, Fnatic fell into the lower bracket, where they effortlessly defeated the Chinese team Cyclone. Then, in the lower final, they managed to come back against Apex, after they were defeated on their pick Vertigo with a score of 16-5. The last chance stage was the real competition. As expected, all the group stage outsiders ended up here: M80, Nines, Imperial, Cyclone and Apex. On paper, the last slot should have been taken by Apex or perhaps Imperial. However, this wasn't the case. First, the Chinese team Cyclone surprised everyone by beating Imperial 2-1. Then, even more surprisingly, Nines effortlessly defeated Apex 2-0. So, instead of Apex and Imperial, the battle for the last playoff spot was between Cyclone and Nines. And the South American team came out on top, clinching that last playoff spot. Well, friends, that's how Group C turned out. Apart from Imperial and Apex, there were no surprises. We await Group D and of course CS2. I hope the next major tournament will be in the new game. Subscribe to the channel to support our project and not miss the next episodes. I'm not saying goodbye for a long time. See you soon.